this is my overall question: is does this have the capacity to crash our economy? Maybe you can answer now, or or if they get their way, or neither, or both.
Yeah, I mean, I do think, unfortunately, that there is a serious amount of risk here. I suspect with the current level of integration, even if crypto went through a collapse that we saw just a couple years ago, we would not see a Great Recession style contagion. But I think that the very rapidly progressing changes in regulation that the cryptocurrency industry has spent over $100 million on and is raising even more money to continue to pursue, and seems to be getting, very much raise that risk, and that type of contagion could be in the very near future, unfortunately, if these types of regulations are removed, or if favorable regulations are installed for the cryptocurrency industry. The more that we're seeing the US government endorsing crypto, I think the higher the risk is becoming. We're starting to see states talking about establishing Bitcoin reserves at the state level. And so, this is, actual people's money, taxpayer money, going towards acquiring Bitcoin, which, as you mentioned, is profiting those like the Winklevoss twins who bought Bitcoin very early on and are now billionaires, again, at the expense of everyday people, while also introducing this degree of financial risk throughout the American economy, and honestly further, that could be devastating during a future collapse. So I am very concerned about the type of risk that we are rapidly taking on.
And then it's a good opportunity to talk about Andreessen Horowitz, and we covered it on our show. Mark Andreessen in November went on to the Joe Rogan podcast, which is the tech oligarch propaganda show, and he was or VC, pick your poison. He was saying that Elizabeth Warren is personally debanking all of us and coming after us and targeting us politically. She does not head the CFPB. But Elon Musk is taking a hammer to the agency that has returned $21 billion to consumers who were victimized by corporate greed, banking greed. And then he went on, and now he's basically claiming that his business in particular is being targeted, and you mentioned their holdings in crypto. What is this debanking thing all about, and why are billionaire crypto holders like Andreessen fixated on changing those regulations?
Yeah, so there has been this narrative coming out of the cryptocurrency industry that they are being systematically debanked by banking regulators and by agencies like the CFPB and by the Biden administration in general, through a campaign in which basically the administration and regulators were pressuring banks to deny banking services to anyone and any company in the cryptocurrency industry. And they've really sort of co-opted this term of debanking, which is, this idea where someone is improperly denied a bank account due to, their race, their religion, their economic status, any number of things, not based on their actual risk profile, but just because the bank decides they don't want to work with them for sort of discriminatory reasons. The crypto industry is claiming that they are being discriminated against and debanked in this same way, when in reality, most of the documents that they have provided that they claim show, hard evidence of this debanking campaign really show regulators trying to evaluate the risk of banks offering crypto products themselves. Like I said, the Bitcoin ATMs in the bank lobby and the crypto purchases in your banking app that sound like they're covered by FDIC insurance. There has been pretty little in the way of evidence that there is any sort of campaign to systematically debank the crypto industry. And in reality, it seems like banks basically doing their own risk assessments and saying this this crypto company is too risky for us to take on as a customer. You're going to have to look elsewhere, which is a legal thing to do. Banks are not required to provide services to every customer. They just can't deny them for discriminatory reasons.
Well, they are discriminating against these corporate persons, according to the Supreme Court,
Right.
based on the industry that they're in, which is the same as apparently racial discrimination.
Right. But anyway, this is all culminated in this campaign. It's been used as basically ammunition by the cryptocurrency industry to bolster this campaign to attack regulations on banks and other financial service providers. And it's ironically enough been used as ammunition to attack the CFPB, which is actually the number one defender against discriminatory debanking. They are sort of the primary consumer debanking watchdog. And yet, as the crypto industry is making all of these claims of debanking and even arguing about more general debanking against, they say it's happening against conservatives or other industries like the firearms industry or, religious organizations, even as they are making these claims about consumer debanking, they are celebrating the shutdown of the CFPB. Coinbase, for example, their CEO, Brian Armstrong, was, basically shooting off confetti cannons about the fact that the CFPB was being shut down, probably because the CFPB recently issued a sort of interpretive rule saying that Coinbase would have to make whole customers who are victims of basically phishing scams, stealing their cryptocurrency out of their Coinbase accounts, which a recent investigation by a cryptocurrency researcher called Zach XBT suggested was like $300 million a year that Coinbase was allowing to be stolen from its customers that they would have to repay. And so, it's very clear why someone like Brian Armstrong and Coinbase would be opposed to the CFPB, because they might install consumer protections for Coinbase customers who are historically ignored by Coinbase when they complain about stolen funds. And, it's inconvenient for them to support an agency that otherwise might be a very useful ally if they were concerned about debanking in the ways that they claim. But in reality, it's really just a political weapon to try to advance their goal of slashing regulations, reducing these firewalls between the banking industry and crypto, and, basically just allowing them to do whatever it is that they want. Consumers be damned.
And you write about the dubbing of it as Operation Choke Point 2.0. Can you explain what that means?
So that's a callback to a actual improper debanking, basically scandal that happened during the Obama administration. The true extent of it has been overblown somewhat, I think, but it is true that there was this effort through government pressure to discourage banks from providing services to a number of industries that they decided were high risk. And so that included firearms. It also included, payday lending and those types of...
Great. Good job.
Yeah, right. Escort services and various other sort of industries that were deemed to be at high risk for money laundering and those types of things. And that was shut down. The FDIC retracted that and, apologized, and there was investigations and all sorts of things. The crypto industry is saying that what's happening right now is Operation Choke Point 2.0, that basically the Biden administration and Elizabeth Warren, I guess, revived this, controversial and improper campaign against an industry. Although there has been very little in the way of evidence suggesting that that is true.
And that, what are their goals, I guess, as we wrap here? Did they want to change the classification of their regulation? Is that part of what they're trying to do with this?
No, I mean, it really comes down to they want access to the banking system. They are, sort of categorizing a very broad range of things as debanking that are really not debanking. So, even though they describe it as being denied access to banking accounts, they're actually talking a lot of the time about these banking services that banks would be providing that would be closely integrating cryptocurrency into the banking system. And like I said, I think it's really just a weapon against the banking regulators to be used sort of in a very broad way to undermine them and to diminish the degree to which they can oversee banks.
Gotcha. Well, Molly White, really appreciate your time today. Your work on researching crypto, sometimes I have to read it a few times to fully get it because you're so technical and smart, but it really helps. And so I'd encourage everybody to go check out the Citation Needed newsletter. We'll put a link to that below down in the description wherever people are listening to or watching this. Thanks so much for your time today.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.